Welcome to BNR, welcome to new surroundings, new environments, new studios, if you like. Whatever it is, it's our new home for the sort of tactical side of the game. With me today to discuss, before you sort of go with you, Wiki, I should tell them what's it called. It's called Total Football. Total Football with sort of diving deep into the tactical side of the beautiful game. So, how are you doing, Wiki? Hope you're well. Exhausted batteries, overheated cameras, but we finally got there in the end.
Yeah, if it goes off, I've got my excuse ready for Cheen. So let's get into it.
Yeah, 100%. If there's a lot of editing going on, you know exactly what happened. Our cameras went off. But let's get down to it. The sort of theme of today's show is called the transition. And you want to explain to me that the sort of signs that we're seeing at the moment in this sort of Liverpool's transition from the conventional 4-3-3 to the sort of 3-box-3 system that we're playing at the moment. You want to tell me that there were signs even as far as back as Liverpool v Chelsea in that FA Cup final at Wembley, where you saw Trent in central areas. But explain to me where those signs were and how we have carried them over the sort of last 18 months.
Yeah, the FA Cup final is just one example. That was at the end of the season, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that was one example because I thought we played the best football we've ever played under Jurgen Klopp. So it wasn't long ball football as the Man United fans like to say. Trent normally probably a right winger. He was a lot with both our right centre mid and right winger inside.
So high and wide.
Same with Robertson on the opposite side. But then Klopp wanted to experiment. It was actually Pep Lijnders. He got a lot of
credit.
A lot of credit for that. The right hand side triangle with Naby Keita and Harvey Elliott. So what happened now with Jordan Henderson was really high and in the half space, sort of Kevin De Bruyne position, if you like. And Salah went from the half space to wide, and Trent sort of took us that third midfielder position. And Robertson high on the other side, and our left winger inside 2-3-5. So now this season, so last 10 games, we saw Trent doing this. It was a double pivot.
Yeah.
So it's a complete different position. But there were signs earlier. Trent has had that freedom in that season to sort of have this half space, go central, overload the winger. So there were signs, and I think last season we would have seen a lot more from Trent. But we had to go back to basics because of our disastrous start to the season.
Yeah, you say we had to go back to basics. We were leaking goals, and from that picture, I can see the gaping holes in that right side channel. As soon as we lose the ball, we care. Look, and how many times have you seen? I think that Newcastle at Anfield, it was at Crystal Palace when Zaha scored, is that one out ball, and we've seen a similar theme this season as well. In defensive transitions, Liverpool look weak. And we're going to look as to what the sort of structure is, or the rest defence is. That is when the moment we lose the ball, Liverpool are in a position where they look vulnerable. And one ball, an out ball, or over the top, or even sort of through the lines, puts Liverpool into trouble. Well, explain to me why that is. Were we expecting too much from Trent, where he had to sort of be the first phase build-up and get involved in the build-up, come into the half space, and then, like you say, play on the overlap to make sure Salah stays narrow. So were we expecting too much from him? And this is sort of, I know we're going to go into sort of deeper into it. The transition is all about protecting Trent and giving him the sort of license, but also with Kanate in that sort of right channel now as a right back role, the moment we lose it, is giving him the sort of extra protection, if you like.
Yeah, I think the problem is with our direct nature of our verticality, if you like. If our counter pressing isn't absolutely perfect, we are gonna get sort of overloaded on the sides if we play that system. So when Fabinho and Henderson, normally the guys playing them two positions, they just weren't winning enough balls anymore. They were always 5 yards off. And when you're committing more or less most of these players, it's easy to get caught, and that's what was happening. Yeah, and a bit of it, I think Trent's probably got too much responsibility, but that's just the way Liverpool is, and that's just the level of player.
Well, that's the problem. You want him to be involved in every phase because he's so good, and you want him to be here. As how many times have we seen the back post the cross, the shot from Trent, and he's a player that should be getting 7-8 goals a season as well. Is that sort of his delivery and his shot making skills are such a high level, like you say. But I want to sort of discuss when Liverpool were in this 4-3-3, if you want to just take it back to a more conventional 4-3-3, and when the introduction of Darwin Nunez came. Why were Liverpool looking so weak? I know you've just explained to me that the 2-3-5 system was exposing us, and Fabinho was getting exposed. But was it because of this man here? We obviously lost Gini Wijnaldum the previous season, and we wanted Harvey Elliott or even Jordan Henderson and Naby Keita, who played this sort of role a bit more differently to Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott was more of a 10 and in the half space. He did hug the touchline at times as well, but Henderson were making all those sort of blind runs as well to for the third centre back, or depending on the left centre back, whatever the system that the opposition were playing. But this was this sort of man exposing us, because this effectively now is a fourth attacker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily Elliott's fault the whole time.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it was a bit of a scapegoat. But it's because his running stats are pretty good.
Yeah,
but the problem is he wasn't offering us enough in terms of goals and assists.
It's a risk reward system, isn't it?
And with Trent,
concept, isn't it?
When we had Trent and Robbo flying high, we don't mind conceding the odd goal because of the amount of goals they create. And with Elliott, even if he got 10 assists that season, I would have said, it's all right. But the problem is you don't have a Fabinho, that a fully in the prime Fabinho, and then Wijnaldum. Well, we had Thiago here. Thiago's always injured, but the team before still got 90 plus points.
Yeah, 100%.
So it wasn't the problem that we got an extra attacker, and with Trent also joining that. The problem is the two midfielders just not doing their jobs anymore.
Yeah, 100%. We reached a stage in last season where, excuse me, where I think it was Rangers where we played a 4-4-2, or was it a 4-2-3-1? Ajax, I think we went with a diamond as well. Mm-hmm. I think West Ham, Spurs, we went with a diamond as well. It was time to sort of engineer a bit more control in our play to make sure we're not, vulnerable in those defensive transitions. And we only saw that for a bit until we saw the transition into the 3-box-3 system. But tell me what exactly the 3-box-3 system gives us. Is it to sort of really overload the central areas, engineer control, and ultimately have more possession in the game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. You see a lot of teams now playing with two attacking midfielders almost as 10s in this kind of position, with your wingers really wide. Left centre back. So you see this a lot now. You don't really see, even Leicester, I think I saw yesterday, playing with Ndidi in the half space. So which is yeah. So this is the modern system now, I think, where your fullbacks don't really move from their positions, and it obviously gives you more control, and more importantly, 4 people in the midfield. Yeah. Whether this can alternate into a diamond if you want to, Johan Cruyff system, but I think we'll see a bit more of that from Liverpool this season. But that's the main thing. You have 4 people in midfield, two people in between the half spaces, and you also can isolate each fullback with your wingers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Liverpool did look better. It bought an extra body for Fabinho. He looked he fell off a cliff last season, and it wasn't his fault. Maybe he was a bit of a scapegoat because he was such a destroyer. He was the guy when he left. How many players came out on that video, the farewell video, where you did the dirty job, if you like. You won the ball back for us so we can go again. Liverpool's main sort of philosophy was to sustain attacks and squeeze and pin teams so they can go on again and again. And how many times have we seen Robbo high up on the left and Trent high up on the left, because we were allowed to, because we won the ball back so far high up in the pitch. But I want to talk to you about Robertson, and he has taken a bit of slack, some unfair, because I think it's a sort of a instruction from the manager, but it's also down to his natural traits of going down that flank. And if we're gonna sort of integrate, sort of transition into this system, Robertson is sort of expected to come into a 3 splitted centre back role whenever we have the ball. So Trent is in midfield, and Robertson is in a third left-sided centre-back role, and even wider. But you sometimes say, look, they're sometimes too flat. So when you're too flat as a trio, you don't get the combinations. So there is like off the ball and on the ball staggering is the tactical term. But in terms of if they're too flat, then those connections, those triangles are not available. So is it because of the way that obviously we're sort of going towards that? It's a bit new system to us, but also down to the fact that Robertson, he needs to be a bit more progressive when on the ball. And this is what, yes, he's very good on the touchline because he's very good in terms of the one-to-one challenges. He's very, very good on the flank, going to bombing forward when Trent's got the switch on and we're playing a bit of a low block. But ultimately, when he's in the first phase of build-up, he needs to be involved in those connections and he needs to break lines as well. But that is probably his weakness. And is that why Liverpool are looking at a left-sided centre-back this summer?
Yeah, I think he's needed, just because I think Robertson is temperament. And if we got a lot of direct players, Trent, you probably could say, Szoboszlai, Salah, and even Konate is more of a active kind of guy. He loves to come out and press. He's not kind of a Van Dijk calm kind of character. So I think there needs to be a balance now, especially with our left-sided centre back. But also the thing is, I think he is new to the system, which I actually don't mind. Once we've got a proper number 6 and we've got players who can control in the right areas, we will get exposed and we can use that extra attacker and go to 2-2-6.
But do you think Van Dijk and Konate, especially Van Dijk, because how many times we just see him mopping up on the left, mopping up on the right, wherever you needed him, he was the beast at the back, if you like. But do you think he's a bit over the hill now to do that and give him that responsibility? Because you see, Manchester City, you see Arsenal, who always leave a Ben White, a Kyle Walker in the last line. Why are we leaving, 2 in the last line? Why have we got not enough attacking sort of prowess at the front to break down low blocks? Or is it because of the manager's instruction that he likes Robertson to use him in his natural position? Where do you see it? Because I really believe Robertson should stay there, especially if you don't have a DM. And I don't understand what you're saying in terms of total control, 100%. But if you want a bit of solidity, if you want a bit of protection, then surely he needs to stay there. Unless you play someone like a 5-4-1, Brentford at home, Bournemouth at home, then I don't mind going a bit gung-ho. I don't mind. But do you like him?
Yeah, I think it's a bit overdone, the blame on Robertson, because even if you watch the FA Cup final against not FA Cup, Community Shield final, Ben White, he was in these sorts of positions a lot, and you saw him overlap Saka. And another thing, one thing I must say about these systems, it can leave your wingers isolated, which is why I prefer a diamond, because the angles are better for your wingers. So that's another thing. But also a lot of the time we're facing low blocks a lot of the time, and even Akanji, you saw him in kind of these areas. Maybe he wasn't overlapping a lot, which he did. I remember he gave a cross inside the box for the Grealish chance, but even them, you see him in them kind of areas. But obviously naturally they have more control of the ball. They won't play as many stupid passes like us. I say stupid, but that's just the club.
Because at the moment they're having a 4-2 build-up at times as well. And then they've got Rodri and Kovacic, who's obviously a box-to-box. And this is my concern. Do you think Liverpool are a bit stuck now, especially with the Saudi taking Henderson and Fabinho over there? Suddenly we've been caught off guard, and we're stuck in between the sort of gegenpress Klopp side of philosophy, over transitioning to a more of a possession-based Dutch style, Pep Lijnders influence, like you said, Dutch sort of system. But at the moment, do we have the players for it? You mentioned the verticality, Salah, Trent, Szoboszlai, they're a bit too direct. And this system is all about horizontal passes, small passes. We've seen, you mentioned De Zerbi at Brighton, keeping control and then accelerating play whenever you need to, because you've got the quality in the last 5. Do you think we're transitioning over to that, but it's slightly gone wayward because we've lost our main DM?
Yeah, I probably would agree that the centre back, the CDM is a main issue here, because we've got no natural ball winner in the team. Trent is a good dueler, but you need a Fabinho type. But also, I think he's been overdone, the blame. on the system, because look, we've got players who can control, we played fast football before, but look, our three midfielders were Wijnaldum, Fabinho and Henderson. They knew when to speed up play, when to slow it down, so it wasn't always 100 miles an hour.
True, but they could always do this as well, cover the sides, and they could provide the protection of if Henderson went here or even here at times and Trent was there. But they provided that you'd probably call them, yes, Wijnaldum had the technical ability, Fabinho had the technical ability more so than Jordan Henderson, but they were slightly conservative midfielders who were protecting the world-class trio up front. And we haven't even mentioned Bobby Firmino, that how important him and Mane were in the press, their cover shadowing and stuff like that. It was unbelievable, and it goes unnoticed. And now what's that saying? You only realise what you've got when you've lost them. Because Bobby and Mane were unbelievable. Gakpo is getting better. But in terms of Nunez, which sort of segues into Nunez, where do you think Nunez fits into this system? Because you really want him to be the sort of the attacker that we can really lead the line for us. But this summer and this system and these players that have come in, these 2 10s that you've just pointed onto the board, McAllister and Szoboszlai, should give him the service. Last year I know Carvalho played there, Gakpo played there, Curtis Jones played there. Those guys can receive a ball on the half turn. But on the right, we were struggling. Harvey Elliott probably didn't have the physicality, a natural physicality in terms of his body, slightly diminutive figure. But in terms of Henderson, just didn't have the technical ability to receive the ball on the half turn. But this year, now we've got Szoboszlai and McAllister, and it can only mean a good thing, because when you have got the sort of creativity and the technicians, you need a finisher. And with Darwin Nunez playing on the shoulder, it should make him score a lot of goals. He was getting chances anyway, Wicket.
Exactly. And I think this system is tailor-made for Darwin Nunez, not just because of the 2 10s, but just the way we play it. And now, because in this system, you don't have a natural right-back. Trent actually mentioned this. So a lot of our moves have come down the right-hand side, with Salah coming into sort of the right-back position. And what we do, we have more of an overload of this side, and then from the middle centre-back or from Trent to Salah, we play that ball first time. Nunez were a bit deeper, and Nunez goes over from this side like this. So I think with Gakpo there, he's more of a guy that comes inside. When we got 2 natural 10s, I don't think we need that as much. So I think we've already seen Darwin Nunez and Salah's relationship in pre-season. I think it's tailor-made. It's perfect for him.
Are you concerned though about Salah being too wide in this system? Because in pre-season he's basically been the guy who keeps receiving it for Kanate from here and being sort of not recycling play, but keeps things ticking over. And then how many times have you seen him be in this position of slightly forward and playing it down the channel for the striker, or even the sort of developing number the number 8 who's really running down that channel? Are you a bit concerned? Because he's Mohamed Salah. He should be getting 30 goals. Do you see him getting 30 goals?
I think he'll get 30 goals. Even in pre-season, we've seen him score 3-4 goals and even got 7-8 assists or something. Salah will always score a goal, especially when you have a player like Szoboszlai. And when we were looking in the market, we were linked with Mount, and I was always happy with Mount because he's comfortable going on the outside. So there's always going to be them kind of issues with Trent and Nunez and Salah be able to play close to each other. Even Trent in the half space and Salah just on the outside. So I think that's not really a major issue, because we saw Salah been playing this position for a couple of years now. 21-22 season, since the advanced 8 came into play, Salah naturally has gone wider. So I don't see an issue with it.
Yeah. Before we go, we must touch on looking ahead to Chelsea. And you said to me yesterday that you're thinking about Gomez in the last line. You just told me about 10 minutes ago that you really like Andy Robertson in that left-sided channel. But you're sort of, because we don't have that DM, the national destroyer, the control, you are inclined towards going sort of picking Joe Gomez for that left-sided centre-back role. Are you still of that opinion?
Yeah, I actually would go for that, just because not because of Robertson mostly. It's mostly because we don't have a natural number 6, and especially, like I said, with these 3 players being really vertical, we need some sort of control back. If especially play Luis Diaz. So the more controllers we get, I'd actually go with Jota, Jota and Gakpo and Gomez. So you get three sort of controllers. Jota's a bit of a mix, but you get sort of three controllers with Curtis here as well. Also, I wouldn't mind.
So you play McAllister in the DM role?
Yep. Also, I wouldn't mind a kind of a 4-2-3-1 with Gomez starting right back as a deep right back, and Trent and McAllister double pivot, where we can play our old system, which Robbo will be high, sort of this kind of thing. That's what it is.
So it's still a 3-2 build up.
Still exactly same build up. Although this guy won't come in sort of as a box midfield,
Yeah.
because he's Luis Diaz, like an old school Mane position.
Yeah.
But we'll still have our, I don't like 4-2-3-1s because
It's Salah, isn't it?
Salah, and then you don't want your double pivot going out of there, and then you got we already got problems
With the rest defense, yeah.
So I think Szoboszlai, Diaz in that sort of half space, Robertson high, Van Dijk, Kanate, and Gomez as a deep right back. Although this is a bit of a weird position.
It is a weird position, but this is why we've been linked with the likes of Arthur Tiate, Inacio.
Yeah.
Colwill is obviously the obvious one that we've liked for many years. But let's see what happens. Prediction for Chelsea: are we going to win 5-4?
We don't mind 5-4 every week.
There we are.
A prediction. I will have to go for a win. 2-1. The Chinese will kill me. 2-1. Salah and Gakpo.
We always back our team. Thank you very much. That was a bit of an introductory sort of show for your introductions towards the tactical sides. We're going to be introducing stats very, very soon, and sort of seeing how we go forward with this season in this system. We may be changing systems very, very soon. Do like and subscribe. We see you soon. Take care.